Okay, well, I might be a bit quieter, I might sound a little bit different, and that is because I bought JJ microphones and I'm using them to record this video. They're also just set up on the desk, they're not on the stand, so that might be a little bit different. The other thing is, why is my face so red? Well, one of them's is it, which would be this one. That one too, but this whole side of my face, sorry, it's reversed. This whole side of my face got destroyed by, oh, that wasn't as beautiful as I'd hoped. There. Going skiing. I went skiing with Andrew, and that is why I have this on. And I face planted in the snow, but that's not the worst thing that happened. Yeah, the worst thing that happened is that I completely busted my ankle. To the point where I can't walk on it. The ankle is entirely swollen. I could show you that if you wanted me to. I could like lift my foot up there. I don't know. I might as well do it for the views. Okay. Oh, this is painful. But yeah, my ankle's pretty swollen. That whole like section right there is all swollen. And around it and on the back side there's some, oh, touch the microphone with my foot. On the back side there's some swelling as well. Yeah, it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. I'm probably gonna have to go to the doctor. We're gonna have to figure out what's wrong with it. I'm hoping that it's just a sprain, but based on how much it hurt, it's probably not. The story behind this is, and I can't cross my ankles, I just tried to cross my feet. Oh, my jacket's back here. Look at all this garbage around. This is all the stuff that the microphones came in. I should probably get closer because I think these are quieter ones. Anyway, so the story about how this happened is Andrew took me to, oh my god, my entire pants are ripped all the way down the crotch. Holy, what the hell? It's like my dick just busted through my pants. What the, there's no way. There's no way these ripped, right? It's like Andrew's fancy $100 bib. A multi-$100 bib. These don't have ripped. No, it looks fine. Okay, so just my pants have ripped. That's reassuring. Gosh, that's kind of gross, actually. It's like right underneath the zipper all the way down to my butthole. I'm wearing underwear, so it's not that big of a deal, but the story about how this happened was, I have a Mexican Coke. This is how I get my reviewer retention time, is I almost tell a story and then I switch off and I go on to something completely random. I went skiing at Alpental. And Alpental is one of a series of skiing skiing, whatever they are, lodges, areas, in like, Snoqualmie is like the main one, and then there's like a couple other ones. We went to Alpental for night skiing. So number one rule is what you don't do when you're skiing. Don't go night skiing for your first time. That's a terrible thing to do. The next thing is, always wear a helmet. I wasn't wearing a helmet, and I got my face fucked. Number 3, don't listen to peer pressure, which isn't how this happened. Well, I guess it sort of is. I was pressured into going skiing with Andrew because he kept trying to force me to go skiing with him. I eventually said yes under peer pressure. So don't say yes to peer pressure. That goes for skiing too. Somebody says bomb it, don't do it if you don't feel comfortable doing it. Then the next thing is begin in the beginner's section. During night skiing in Alpental, the only place that's open is the intermediate section, and they don't have a beginner's section. So I ended up doing the intermediate section. Number 5. Learn how to fucking turn and stop. Those are the first things you learn. Number 6. Don't get your skis tightened. They're loose for a reason. For beginners, so that they come off easy. Don't get them tightened, because you'll break something or hurt something, like my ankle. I went to Alpental and did all of these things. We went to the very top lift. I was just accepting that Andrew... See, my perspective was Andrew's going to let me do things that he knows that I can do. And as we're going up the lift, I realized that it's the tallest lift and the highest lift that goes to the top of the mountain, when I have to go all the way down that mountain, and I did not see any clear paths at all, and I was scared. And then I made it down without being hurt at all. But I didn't use my goggles, so I put them on top of my head and I lost my goggles. And they weren't my goggles, of course, they were Andrew's goggles. Which weren't actually Andrew's goggles, they were Jennifer's goggles, which is his wife's. Which, they were $100, and she was upset about that. But then I went down again because I was forced to go down and look for the fucking goggles that I had lost. So I had to go down the exact same way from the very top of the fucking mountain all the way down. And I'm looking for goggles while my skis are falling off constantly because they're on the beginner settings. And they were also like bad skis because they were rentals. And so I went and I looked and I looked and I looked and I looked for like ever, and I didn't find them. And so I went down, and I came, basically, there's a hillside here and a hillside here and a valley. As soon as you come out of the valley, you can turn left or you can turn right. And I turned I turned right, which happened to be directly into the main stream of skiers, and so I tried to stop. But I didn't know how to stop, because I hadn't done that yet. Like, entirely, like, stopped. I crashed, and that's how I stopped. And that's what happened here. But not only, and so in this valley, most of it's soft snow. It's like fluffy powder. Well, as soon as you go off onto the main stream of skiers, it's not soft anymore. It's called hard pack, and it's packed very hard. And so when you try to stop by turning your skis sideways, you just glide instead of stop, like if you were on powder. And so I just kept sliding. And as I was sliding, I caught something, like my ski tilted, and I went from going this, and I'm stopping, right? These are my skis. So I'm like turning them sideways, and I'm standing there, I'm like stopping this way. Well, it got caught in the snow, and I just went BAM! And over the top of my head and over the top of my skis, and I went a good 15 feet. And that's how I got that mark. Well, it wasn't that bad. Then Andrew comes and he's like, hey, did you find those goggles yet? And I'm like, fuck. That wasn't even my issue at that point, because I just slammed my face into what felt like concrete. But I feel like concrete would have killed me. So I ended up being really mad and going all the way down. And somebody had turned the goggles into the lost and found. So he went over there and he picked them up and he was like, hey, you got these goggles back. I was like, thanks, good. I'm glad. My face hurts. And I'm hungry. And my legs are tired. And I'm cold. And I want to go home. Because I never wanted to do this in the first place. Well, then Andrew's like, oh, we could do one more run. And this is going to be an easier run. Because you're a beginner. And I was like, well, yeah, so why did we go on the intermediate stuff? But we went up on this other lift that takes us to another totally different area, and I did not know anything about this place. So Andrew kind of led me, and then he went down a steep hill, and I was like, well, crap, I guess I could kind of go down that steep hill. So I tried. And I was going fast, and I tried to turn. Or I tried to stop myself. But the same way that you stop yourself is kind of similar to the way that you turn. And so instead of stopping myself, I turned, and I continued to go. And so I tried to stop myself again. But I had too much speed. And so again, my skis like caught on something. And I got flung, and I fell face planted. And instead of face planting and stopping, I face planted and then got my... Oh, and also we tightened the skis. This is important. We tightened the skis prior to the third run. Right after the second run, prior. Ladder is after, prior before. I don't know. Well, before the third run, we tightened the skis because they kept falling off, and I was like pissed off because I kept having to put them back on the mountain, and it's like super annoying and embarrassing. So we tightened them, and then he took me there. So anyway, flash forward to the point where I'm flipping. So I face plant, but because I have so much speed, I go back onto my feet, and the momentum from me drives the skis into the ground. But I was getting flung backwards, and so I try to turn, and the ski isn't set loose anymore, so it stayed in the snow, and I twisted my ankle really bad. And the ski finally, I felt it pop off, but not after twisting my ankle absolutely horribly. And so I sat there for a long time, and that was the first time Andrew heard me cuss, I think. Because I don't cuss around him, ever. But I did. I was like, fuck. That hurt. Because it fucking hurt. And so then I sat, and they were doing some races right next to me. So I gotta watch the races for a little while as I'm in pain, butt scooching down the side of this fucking mountain. Until somebody noticed me and called the snow, like the ski patrol. And this ski patrol guy comes over to me. The guy that asked or got the help, and the ski patrol guy both came up to me, and they said, "Hey, do you want any help, or like you need help?" And at this point, my feet were like, I was to the point where I was sick of butt sliding because it felt really dumb and stupid looking. So I was using my ski poles. Andrew took down my skis with him on the way down because he abandoned me. And went and did something for like another 45 minutes or something stupid. And so I was all alone, butt sliding down, and I decided I didn't want to butt slide anymore, so I got up and I used my ski poles to lift myself and carry myself for a step at a time. Stab, step, stab, step. And that's when they showed up, was right as I started doing that. And the ski patrol guy and the other guy asked me if I was okay, and I said, yes. And they're like, do you want us to get, what's wrong? And I was like, I think I twisted or dislocated my ankle. And they were like, oh, that sounds bad. Do you want to get a toboggan? Because a toboggan's basically a sled that makes you slide down the mountain. And Andrew and I were joking around earlier and said, like, if one of us gets hurt, then you have the toboggan. And I was like, no, I don't want a toboggan. Like, if I get hurt, I want my pride. And so that's exactly what I did. I said, no. And they're like, why? Why don't you want a toboggan? And I was like, because I still want my pride. And it was half joking, but it didn't sound like a joke. It came out completely serious because I was in pain and I wanted them to leave me alone. So the first guy who ended up getting the ski patrol guy was like, oh, well, guess I shouldn't have gotten help. Like, literally, he said that, and he just started continuing down the mountain. Well, the ski patrol guy wasn't so convinced and sat there and watched me walk 3/4 of the way down the fucking mountain because I had made it about 1/4 of the way before I crashed. And so he followed me the entire time and made it sure I got to the bottom of the mountain. The entire fucking time talking to me. And it was annoying because I was in pain and I didn't care. And that's when Andrew showed up and said, hey, and then went back up the fucking lift immediately. That's why I had to sit there and wait 12 minutes or something for him to come back down. And then we went home. Where I am making this video at 1 a.m. 1:10. It's 1:10, so started at like 12 or something. 12:53. Let's say we'll go that. It was a pain in the butt. It really was. And I didn't like it. Skiing wasn't fun. It would have been fun if I had done it properly and went to the beginners area. And I had my jolly good wimpy newbie time learning how to ski. But instead, it was hell of traversing a mountain 90% of the time alone. With annoying skis, because every time you turn, or try to turn, which I didn't really know how to turn, the ski would just pop off and you'd have to sit there and fumble with it for a good 5 minutes before you could get it back on average. There was one time where I sat up there for, I swear to God, 30 minutes trying to put on a fucking ski. One fucking ski. I don't like skiing because of that. And I could see how much fun it could be, because I had a little bit of fun sometimes. But then it was very, very scary because I didn't know how to turn, and I didn't know how to regulate my speed, and I didn't know how to stop. And I don't blame that on anyone else's fault but my own. Because I could have told Andrew that I don't feel comfortable skiing at this place and just said stop. And I would have sat in the van while he skied for a good 5-6 hours. And then I would have went home. But I wanted my pride. And so I sat there and I tried it, and it sucked. So it gave me this Mexican Coca-Cola as compensation, as well as a Frosty. It's ridiculous. But now I have to deal with a fucked up ankle. And that's really all I had to say was I have a jacked up ankle. Thanks for listening. I'm gonna drink my Mexican Coke with my pride in my hands. Or my pride in my... I don't know. My ankle really, really hurts. And I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye. Okay, now I'll end it.